All right, guys, welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm actually in North Saanich, Vancouver Island. So we've got guys, I think as far as, the States to, what's my computer doing here? Get rid of this. Coach Brad Cole, can you open us up just with a quick word of prayer, and let's get to our first coach. I believe we got 4 coaches sharing. Emery Lawson had a meeting with his board, whether they're going over budget, those fine items. He may join us later, but excited to listen to Coach Joel Martin, Coach Barret Kropf, Coach Peter Hay, and Coach Clayton Jardine, the pride of Camrose, Alberta. But Brad, if you can just open us up with a quick word of prayer, and then let's get listening and let's get learning.
For sure. Thanks, John, for setting us up, and thanks for everybody for taking the time to come. It's good for me as a young coach to be able to hear from guys that got way more experience. So I enjoy this, and just thank you guys for the time. So just join me in prayer here. Heavenly Father, we love you, and we just thank you for a beautiful day. Thank you for the men that are on this call. And I just pray a blessing over each one of them and over their organizations that they're representing, that as we go into this time with a little bit of uncertainty, that there would be fruit in the work that we're all putting in, that there would be relationships that are built, and that we would come to know you more, Father. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah, for you guys that haven't met Coach Brad Cole, he coached in the ACAC last year. It was his first year coaching college hockey. He did a great job. He's in recruiting mode right now. And Brad, awesome to have you on the call. Guys, can we start off by listening to Coach Clayton Jardine? Clayton had a chance to play NCAA hockey and has developed into a coach that many respect. He has had a chance to coach in the SJHL. He's now coaching in the AJHL. Jardine, great to have you here. The mic is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Darmy. I was a little worried this wasn't happening either. I think a couple of you guys blew up his phone, so I was definitely one of them. So, I'm kind of like Coach Cole here. I'm a little younger, so it's a little bit intimidating talking to you guys, but I enjoy it as well. I'm on another Zoom call with some other guys as well that are pretty experienced. So, take it with a grain of salt here. It's just kind of things that I've learned and I've tried to implement, with my team. It's been a little different with being a head coach in Kindersley for 1 year and then coming here to Camrose. And culture's kind of set here in Camrose, which has been nice. But I got a little PowerPoint here. I'm going to try and share my screen, and then Army, you can let me know if it worked or not here.
Right on.
You got it there? Everyone can see that?
Looking good.
Okay, awesome. So biggest thing for me, here on my second slide here. So culture to me, if we want to call it culture, it's really just a summer buzzword. We say that, we say we want to play fast, we want to be detailed. I think it's just another one that we kind of throw around, and we try and figure out what is culture. So really, like it says there, if you don't define it, it's not really anything. So for me, culture is just simply connecting people. So you get 23 guys, 25 guys together, and you gotta come together as quick as you can. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the World Junior A Challenge in December, and we weren't successful as a team. And I think that was the biggest reason. You put a lot on the coaching staff, is that we didn't come together as a team. We ended up 5th place. Russia beat Canada East in the finals. And if I was to go back and do it again, I think that would be the biggest thing, is to more team builders and the guys getting to know each other. So it's a little more easier when you're going through the season, as you can bring the guys together. So connecting people is the biggest thing for me, and then developing your leaders. I think they have the dressing room. You're in the dressing room 5-10% of the time that the guys are actually there. So you're making sure that you kind of have a grasp on the room, and you really rely on your leaders. And that's been kind of the frustration for me when I was in Kindersley and then came to Camrose. You put in all the work, but to me, the biggest thing is developing your leaders. So year to year, you can keep having a great leader in that room, or a couple great leaders in that room. So your 20-year-old or your 19-year-old captain in a junior sense, when he moves on, it's not you that was developing that leader. It's that leader is developing the next leader as well. And you look at some successful programs, and I mean, I saw Brooks from afar, so I'm using the Brooks Bandits right now, but their captain this year, he was the glue. He was the straw that stirred the drink, and he didn't play much of a role the year before. And it's, when I was in Camrose, it was the exact same thing. My first year, I learned a ton from my captain my first year, and my fourth year when I finally became the captain, I used a lot of that. I used a lot from the second year captain as well. So you spend a lot of time developing your leader. It's going to pay off in the long run for me. So you focus a lot on your leadership, developing that leadership, and going from there. So this thing on the right, I mean, I think we've all heard it. Coaches are the best thieves around. And so that's actually Mike Sullivan's picture, you could say. I just threw the Kodiaks logo on and changed one color. It was yellow with the Penguins, and now it's red for the Kodiaks. So if you're wondering where I got it, that's where I got it from. You might have seen it. So so as a team and as a culture, first thing for me is you got to be positive, and that's the base of it. And that's why I love this sign so much, is you own your attitude. When you walk through that door, you're having a great day. You're not bringing the rest of the team down. You're not bringing anyone down. And that starts with the coaches as well. As you know, you gotta leave your stuff at the door, and you gotta come in, and you gotta be a positive and a guy that's bringing the energy up. So no BCD. That for me that's huge. That's blaming, complaining, and defending. So blaming whoever for whatever. I mean, we could all make as many examples as we want about blaming, and then complaining the same thing. It's the easiest thing to do right now, especially with what we're going through, is make excuses. I think, just not to get off on a side note, but with this, there's going to be a lot of people after this that are here. There's going to be a lot of people that went here because of this. We have so much time. What are we doing with our time? So we're complaining about the coronavirus, or we're getting better because of it, because we have that much more time to do it. So, and then defending, same thing. Defending yourself. You get told, it was a bad system, in the coach's sense, it was a bad system. You did this wrong in the game. You're not defending yourself. You're learning from it. So try to teach that to the players as well. You don't defend yourself. You listen, and then you learn from it. The second thing that's huge for me is, are you team first? We go through the recruiting process. Are you team first? You can call a lot of coaches, learn a lot of things about kids. So are you team first, and is that what you're all about? And then the last thing, I think as coaches, we all love it. Are you competitive? And that's probably the biggest thing that I've had to learn as a player. And I think we've all seen the Michael Jordan documentary. And it's the same thing, that you might have one or two kids that don't seem like they're competitive. So that for me has been a huge learning curve on the coach's side of things, because as a player, you can be competitive and worry about yourself. But as a coach, you got to try and make every single player on your team competitive. And sometimes you look at a kid and you're like, that doesn't bother you that, this happened. And I mean, it's just how some people are. So, I mean, you got to teach every kid differently and learn from every kid differently. So the last thing down there, if you want your players and recruits to act like this, you need to do it as well. So you need to lead by example, and that's being positive, no BCD. You got to be team first as well, and you have to be competitive as well. So that sign there of own your attitude, I think that's a big base for everyone and everything, and every player sees it when he comes in. Then you own your habits. Obviously, we all talk about the good habits, doing workout, showing up on time, all that as well. So then you own your game, and then you own your team. So this is another thing that for me, you realize that as a coach, and you hear all coaches talk about it, all the famous coaches talk about it, about practice and how important it is. It's just not throwing together 4 drills and passing the puck around and getting off the ice. You gotta really take stock in your practice, and players need to be taught how to practice. You can't assume that the coach before you taught your player how to practice, or you can't assume that the player wants or the player knows how he wants you to practice. So that at the start of the year, you focus a lot of that on your rookies, but there's some kids that it might take a year to figure out how to practice the right way. And this one as well, I mean, this one's up for discussion, but I'm a firm believer that you got to coach your top player. I mean, there's some guys you can say, oh, just leave him alone. He's gonna show up and he's gonna play. But if you're telling Johnny, who's on your third line, that he's got to do something in practice, and then your first line best player does it and you don't, you're gonna lose a lot of stock. So coaching your top player and demanding more from your top player goes a long way, I think. But this one, your fourth line determines your success. And this, I rely on this all day long. That my college career, it wasn't like my junior career. My junior career, I played in every situation. My college career, I was a fourth liner. So when we were getting a penalty called against us, I hopped over the boards. And besides that, I sat in the middle of the bench. But I felt like I contributed to the team. So your fourth line, they're either your energy makers or your energy drainers. So what are they doing on that bench? Because they're only getting 8-9 minutes. What are they doing for the other 60 minutes of the game? And you really got to take stock in them, make them believe that they're important, and those shifts that they're taking are important as well. And your top players notice when your fourth line guys are trying their butts off and working hard, and that picks your fourth line guys up as well. And there where you see it, St. Louis last year, you noticed Alex Steen a ton. You noticed Sundqvist a ton through their run. And Pittsburgh's my team, and that was something that was huge for me. Is Cullen and Kuhnhackl were dominant on their run 3 years ago. And then Smith-Pelly's not even in the league anymore, but through that playoff run, he was huge. And that, I think that goes, a lot with just how Trotz handled him. And same with Jay Beagle, same thing. We all know Jay Beagle's story coming up from the East Coast Hockey League and finding a niche within taking penalties or killing penalties and taking faceoffs. So you make that fourth line feel like they can do something, and that they're a part of it. They're going to be an energy maker and not an energy drainer. So this is what I talked about at the start here, just developing leaders year to year. I really think we call them millennials. I think I'm a part of the millennials, so I believe this as well. It's just your captains need to be a part of everything, or else you're going to get the why, right? The millennials want to ask the why this and why that. So if they're a part of those discussions, then that's just going to trickle down. They go back into the room and, hey, we're doing this now, and it's because we decided as a group. We played game 7 of the playoffs the day before the season ended, and we weren't having a very successful time in the neutral zone through 6 games, and we tried 3 different ways. Game 7 morning, I had the idea, but I wanted to walk the captains into the idea, and so they just said, guys, what do you think about doing this in the neutral zone? I think it's really going to help. I think this is what we should do. And they looked at each other. They thought, yeah, sure. But if I would have went into the room and just said, guys, this is what we're doing because this is going to work, and left, there could have been discussion of what are we doing? It's game 7. We're changing this up. What's going on? Why are we doing this? And it would have been uncertainty. But because it came from the leaders, I think it was a huge success. And, we ended up winning that game 8-2 in game 7, and everyone felt that was the reason why. But, it's one part of the game. It was a neutral zone tweak that we did. But after the game, they're like, why weren't we doing that all series long? So, but it's because it came from them, right? And I think the off-ice decisions, that's a huge one for me because, like it says there, they have the pulse of the team. And there's some things that it doesn't really matter as a coach. It doesn't matter when you eat breakfast at the hotel. Throw your captains a bone. Hey, what time do you want to eat? What time do you want to get on the bus? Do you want to stop and have a walk halfway through? Those things, as a coach, you could decide, but, throw a bone to your leaders, let them do it. And then, they feel more part of the team. They can ask rookies how they feel, and everyone feels like they have a decision. It's more of the biggest thing for me is the family aspect. It's a family of everyone making the decision together. It's not just me making every decision and everyone's going to follow me. So, and this last one, we all know Jerry York at Boston College. He said this last week, the other Zoom call I'm on, he presented, and this was a good one, just about sharing. You drink your bad wines and you share your good wines with your friends. So that hit home there for me. And I mean, I think I'm going to use that for the next 25 years of coaching, and hopefully you guys enjoy that one too. And that's all I got for you guys. So thanks. I'm looking forward to listening to everyone else here.
Thank you very much, Coach Jardine. I think where you're at right now is with an organization that's had a head coach for a long time, and through your interview and the process of meeting the board, man, really impressive that the board has not just seen your potential but seen your leadership, and then what you had to share just paints the picture that much more clear of those guys this season. Are going to be lucky to have you as a head coach. And thanks for sharing with us, Coach Jardine. Looking forward to future conversations and opening it up after the other three coaches share, where there can be Q&A, guys. If you're taking notes, we can discuss some topics from the different guys' presentation. Peter Hay, Coach Hay lives in the Lower Mainland. Poor guy. And he's currently coaching AAA. Peter, thanks for being a part of this call and being prepared. My apologies again for not being tech savvy, but I will get better at that, I promise. And the mic's all yours. We're looking forward to listening to you.
Awesome. John, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Just hello to all those coaches out there, and thanks for everything you guys are doing. John, thanks for having me on. Great presentation there before, and a lot of the same stuff. It's funny, as coaches and people that care about young men versus just the wins and losses. It's cool to see these similar themes pop out from each other here. So I'll just go over what I had. John and I talked about what was in our dressing room. The we is greater than me, and I'm just going to turn the camera around so that you guys can see it. I have a PowerPoint a little bit that could go with this, so I'll just move it around. You guys can see it's a screen on screen, so sorry. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
So with the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds located in Abbotsford, British Columbia here, we deal with players that are 15 to 17 years old. And so in our dressing room, they've been pretty lucky to have what was the Abbotsford Heat American Hockey League dressing room. So they have one of the nicest dressing rooms for a midget level team. So, we treat them really well, and they're very lucky. Probably give them too much in some ways, and can add to their entitlement that they already come in with. But at the end of the day, the number one thing these 15 and 17-year-old kids care about is just making the next level. And they'll do anything and everything to make the next level. That's the number one goal for a player. And at the end of the day, a lot of the players feel that them getting to the next level means that they need points, and points equals next level. And so for me, I have to explain, show, sell and model that process and habits is what makes the next level and keeps you at the next level. Where these kids just think putting up points and after every goal, people are trying to get the assist, and they're asking why they didn't get that assist. And so, I agree that points get you opportunity, but habits and process keep and give you a career, in my opinion. So really trying to sell the fact, and I even have to go into the point, I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but at the end of the day, it's a spreadsheet of all the BC Hockey League and Western Hockey League statistics of age, and it breaks it down, and for forwards, defensemen, and goalies. So it really just shows our guys that there's no hurry, and that they need to develop, and they need to cook in the oven a bit. And so we really try and push the we is greater than me, and the process and the habits is more important than the outcomes and the points. And the truth is, if they have that good process in place, they're able to probably do a better job of getting themselves to the next level anyways. So we have to do all sorts of things with our age group because they come in very selfish. I mean, essentially we have a selfish culture, so we have to break that culture, and it's not easy, especially when kids only care about getting to the next level. So here's a tweet, and it's from Barret Kropf, and it says, it starts with a care for each other. We get rid of all the me first. It's we instead of me, and that's what we've talked about since day one of training camp. And I really like that because it's basically, I think Barret Kropf is copying me. Just joking, but at the end of the day, yeah, I really agree with that, and it's a lot of what my philosophy is as well. And so, you know, basically, we make the entire season about the process, which is much more about team and about the day-to-day getting better versus the outcome, which is much more selfish, stats-driven, and a very selfish mindset. In our program, we have, you know, we want to try and succeed by having all players move from teammates to family. We want all our players to feel respected by everyone, coaches, teammates, parents. We want all our players to feel that they belong and are important to the team, regardless, you know, in the last presentation, whether they're a fourth line or not. That's probably the most important players to make part of your team. All players have fun every day. All players become better people, and all players become a complete hockey player. And I really like, you know, the quote on the right side there that says, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I really do believe in that. And, you know, the first stages of getting to know your players is so important. And these are the 4 stages that kind of I follow in my coaching world. Is step 1, just, it's all about having fun and becoming a family. Like, just really breaking the barrier down where kids come from all sorts of situations and family dynamics and divorces and all sorts of weird things. And, you know, just bringing it back to us as a family. Step 2 for us is really starting to build in the habits and the everyday and the drills, the practices, the dry land training and so on. And step 3 is we start to try to master our hockey skills and team play. And then step 4 is actually executing that in the game. But I think without step 1, you don't really have much at step 4. Like, you got to come together as a team, come together as a family. And I think that starts off early in the season. And I really like Eric Lindros's quote. It says, it's not necessarily the amount of time you spend at practice, it's what you put into the practice. And I really take that to heart, that, you know, as a coach that prepares really hard and does a lot of pre-work before every ice time, every session is just really making sure that there's valuable, and the kids know you care by the amount of time you put into it. To me, this is what a complete hockey player looks like. You know, there's so many different things to the puzzle of a hockey player, you know, from mental psychology, nutrition, you know, video sessions. So again, we try and cover all these elements in our program. And when you do that, it shows how much you care and shows how much the process is so important. And it's not just statistical. It's not just about points in a game. So there's so much more to becoming a hockey player and a professional, which ultimately shows the kids you care and ultimately gets them thinking about we instead of just me and my points. So another way to do it, this is our kind of pyramid. It's a little bit small, but we have a huge one in our dressing room, very detailed on, you know, the pyramid. Basically, it all starts with character. Without that foundation, really nothing else works. So really, really strong intentional character building, to preparation, to good habits, and obviously into performance, and then results follow. So it's a process of champions, we call it, and just getting everyone to buy in to that, and not just thinking about themselves and their own selfish wants. Continuing on here, it all starts for us in the summer. And the summer before our season, which would be ultimately right now, I'll give this book to every player on my team, and they have to read it over the summer. It's not a long book. Many of you guys probably have read this or seen it. You win in the locker room first. It's the 7 seats to building a winning team. And I have every player read it. And there's basically 7 keys, and it goes over in depth into each one in each chapter, but it's not a long book, but one of my favorites. If you guys ever get a chance to read it, I highly recommend it. And I base a lot of my leadership stuff that I talk with my leaders and my team about this book. And it, for me, the whole we is greater than me starts in the summer, where they start to read this and learn about culture, because a lot of our 15 to 17s, they've never really had culture. They just play hockey. So really building something intentional, and they all love it because they all want to be part of something that is that. And I've had people tell me on my team, like, man, if my last team, we were so skilled, but we didn't have any of this. And if we had this, man, we would have been so much better. And so at the end of the day, for me, it's really cool to see what comes out of this summer book reading for them. And they all write a 1-page, and I don't try and make it like homework or exhausting. Like, it's just 1 page, very simple. Like, what are 3 things you took from the book that you're going to bring into our dressing room? And every player has different things they bring in. And I think if you think of that from 20 players times 3 things they're bringing into the dressing room from culture, like, that's 60 items of culture that are immediately injected right off the bat without you even doing anything. It's just from a book. So I think there's a lot of value in hockey players reading a book. And I know when I played college hockey, our coach made us do it, and I got a lot out of that. So I think books are good for players to read, especially when they match what you're talking about in your teams. And then in the beginning of the year in September, we go camping as a team builder. And when we go camping, we build kind of a creed and a kind of non-negotiables. So the players and leaders take ownership on what they want to see in their dressing room and their team as far as rules, expectations, routines. I really let them own it because it's their team. I want them to own it and them to embrace it and them to hold each other accountable to it, which is so important. And the book that you see here is a team book that we give each player. It's kind of got all our systems in it. It's got all our team creeds in it. It's got anything to do with our team is in that booklet. And we also add things to the booklet as we go on in the year. And it's their own player, like little Bible, so to speak. So yeah, it's just another great way. We're camping. And last year when we were camping, we were up and it was probably the windiest night of the year. And every single tent got demolished by the wind. And to be honest with you, it was no better because we had kids all over the place sleeping everywhere. And it was the funniest thing because the next morning we had an exhibition game and they could hardly even keep their eyes open. They were so tired. And needless to say, it wasn't the greatest habit game, but it was a team builder, which memories, they talk about it to this day. So that kind of stuff was so important in the beginning of the year. Again, building that family feel that I talked about before you even get into hockey stuff. And this is an example of the non-negotiables that we come up with as a team. And again, any of this stuff I can send to John and I really believe in sharing. So if anyone wants any of this stuff, I'm happy to share it. But it's just a lot of stuff to do with the dressing room, on the bus, in the community. And there's a lot of expectations, who we are as Thunderbirds, who we are as T-Birds in our community and our team, amongst our school systems. And it's really important that we hold them accountable to that, and the leaders do that. Also, they have a court system. They do that as a leadership group in court. It's a fun way to find kids and create a little bit of a pot of money for them to kind of do something as a fun team builder at the end of the year. So yeah, another way to do it. Again, they own it. They come up with a lot of this stuff. And then we go over it as a team and we hold each other accountable to it right from the beginning of the year. They know everyone's very clear on it. For being late, for, walking on the logo in the dressing room, to not having your stall in the right order, whatever. It's just all those professional things that sets them up for next level hockey. One of the big things too that we talk about is the psychology of and building the process to building, who each player is. And many of you might have seen this before in other sports psychology sessions or whatever, but I really love it because it's a great visual of what people see is the iceberg outside the water, but the main part of the body is under the water. No one can see it. And, just everyone sees performance, outcomes, goals, assists, points, and all that stuff. But the truth is the feelings and the emotions and the core beliefs is what is we're trying to get to in underneath that surface. And, the more that we can build those processes and confidences, the better they're going to perform. And if they don't have good feelings about themselves and they don't believe in who they are and their process isn't good, they're just going to fail. And it's just going to be a downward spiral for negative thoughts. So a few things that we talked about with process goals are like how you prepare, extra shooting, things they can control versus, scoring 3 goals tonight, first line, power play, blah, blah, blah. So, really focusing them to what they can control, gearing them away from that selfish ambition for outcomes, even though we do love outcomes, but we don't want to look at those as the main factor of who we are and our identity. So can control and can't control. This is a more of a cartoon look to the success of just different things that are in that, what people see, what they don't see. And we really focus on what's underneath that iceberg as a program, like, just how we fail and how we learn together and how it's okay, and dedicating ourselves to each day getting better with video and dryland training and being prepared and, goal setting and, just sacrificing all year together as a program. And I find when everyone does that together as a team, there's just so much power. So what we do to break it down for our team, we have 40 game seasons. And so I break it down into 5 seasons. So season 1 is 8 games. Season 2 is 8 games. And so every month is 8 games because we play twice on weekends for a month. So 8 games, 4 weeks. And so I break it down into seasons. And every season, we after every season, after 8 games, we reevaluate our process. So where we goal set, we set up intentional player meetings. We discuss where they're at mentally, how's family going, anything. And we learn so much about each kid every time we talk in these meetings. And we talk about, their nutrition, their report cards. We have a chapel that we run with a chaplain that runs it for us. We really divide the season up. So it's just small little steps to get over the river, so to speak. And these small steps are really good for this age group, because sometimes if things aren't going well, it's a nice reset for them. And it just resets their goal setting. So I divide the season up. So whatever season number of games, you divide it by whatever you decided to cut up your season. And I think it's really good to have short-term goals. And because a season can get really long, and it also encourages them to reset their minds as well, and reset their goal setting and where they're at. And we talk very heavily about each player and what's going well, and no player will ever leave our season not knowing where they stand or who they are, so we're really intentional on that. Again, building the process so that when they leave us, they leave our team encouraged to continue that process and keep that in their career of hockey, versus just, it's really easy just to look at stats and all that stuff. So it's a big part of it. And this is a visual of our team. Every time we win, we put the logo up on the board. It's kind of a tradition thing as well. And it's fun to you can see our seasons, and some seasons are better than others. And our goal is always to go 7 wins and 1 loss every 8 games. And some of them we succeeded, some of them we didn't. So at the end of the day, we try and hope for a first place run every year. Our goals are always set high. And this is a good example. Some teams do pucks. We just did Velcros on these and posted up the logos when we beat them, or an L for a loss or T for a tie. So and we really push the habits. What we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Obviously, a quote everyone knows. But we have this poster in our dressing room. It's all the little habits of every zone, of every area of the ice. And we demand them every game. And we also demand them in every practice we do. So habits, again, building that process every day, getting better every day, doing the right things the right way. And, there's lots of different habits here. I won't bore you with them all. You probably know all of them anyways. But, just really important that we focus on those. And at the end of the day, holding players accountable with the follow through via the leadership and the culture. And I feel like when you have a good culture and you have a great leadership group, following through and holding them accountable becomes quite easy. People don't want to fail. They want to succeed. They want to push. They want to, and that's what we build in our program. And the players really thrive on that. And really to narrow it down to the we versus me, it really comes to me is focusing on the process versus the outcome, which is ultimately better for the team, better for themselves, and better for their career. And at the end of the day, this is sort of my coach definition to sum it all up is, motivating players to do what's best for the team with pinpoint focus on the daily habits and season process because they believe in it. And if you can get kids to that place, man, it's something very special that comes in when they all buy in, and championships can be won and young men can become better people. And they're going to really really benefit themselves in their own hockey career to be a lot longer career, because I've seen kids that get lots of points in our league and they don't have very good habits, and then they sizzle out. And I've seen kids that might not get as many points but have such a process, and they go on far and can actually build a career out of their life in hockey, and also for success in life, as you know, life's all about the process. So and we were very lucky as a team to we won it, and it was just a special time together as a program when it all comes together at the end, because only one team wins, and a lot of teams believe in process and all these other things, but when it actually equates to the win, it's something pretty cool. So again, John, thanks for having me, guys. If hopefully you got something out of that, and feel free to ask any questions. And if you ever want anything from me, I'm happy to share, as I'd love to share with other people as well, because lots of good stuff here. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thanks, Coach. Hey, I'll again try to work on my tech savvy skills to where, in the future, it'd be great to be able to have these different resources to where we can share them. One of the coaches on the call here, 14 years ago, I wish I had that PowerPoint. Probably would have helped me a lot. Kyle Tucker probably would have said, "Hey, Armbruster," that would have helped you a little bit. But super proud of Kyle. Kyle now runs in-school sports school in Strathmore, and Tuck's great to have you on board. And coming back to Coach Jardine, man, the power of listening. My mom's 80, and she's amazing, by the way. But, often, those quiet reminders of, how are we listening intentionally? And Coach Jardine, I appreciate you sharing that point of being intentional, meeting with your captains. And it wasn't that really that hard to do, but you were intentional doing it. And what do you know? There was a pretty good byproduct off that. Next up is Coach Joel Martin, the pride of Three Hills, Alberta. Just another awesome guy, one of my heroes. Marty, thanks for being on the call. Awesome to have another one of your fellow coaches with you, your head coach, Coach Bootland. We're excited to hear, coming from a professional level, what you're learning and what you can share with us. We're all ears, so the mic's yours, Marty.
Johnny, thanks for having me. Clayton and Peter, fantastic job. Like a couple of the guys before me, I'm pretty new to coaching myself as well. Just in my third year here in Kalamazoo as the assistant coach. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So awesome hearing you guys share your philosophies and the way you guys present your culture and stuff like that. So this is kind of more of the same in the way we do it in Kalamazoo. And Clayton kind of touched on it there, that coaches are the greatest thieves. And like John said, our head coach there, Nick Bootland's on the call as well, and he really created this piece here that I'm about to present. And it's something that is ever evolving as well from year to year, and it's kind of on its fifth day with the Our Way Every Day kind of theme that never changes. And it's something we've seen other teams use as well, and we added some pieces to it to kind of personalize it. But that's our theme year to year, that never changes. We have the OWE logo kind of up top there, and we created that to put on our gitch and different things like that. And one thing we like about it is how it emphasizes the we within our way as well. On the bottom, the strong alone, unstoppable together, that's a yearly theme that will change. So that was last year's theme. Next year's will be different, and every year that one's going to change for us. So this is something that we do to start every season. I guess instead of just kind of going through the introducing the staff and here's some people in the front office that are important and fill out your paperwork, we decided to present this piece that is basically what we believe in and that what we want our players to believe in and talk about as a group and get better at it on a daily basis. So we say on, October 2nd, we have a meeting at 2:00, and that's when you have to be in Kalamazoo by. This is what we'll show our guys. So we talk about our way every day. And like Clayton said too, it's about defining your culture really. So we start off with winning is an inside job. Each man has an obligation to manifest his greatness. You must continue to do what you do best every single time you are called on to do it. Nothing can stop the team that understands the power and greatness of its culture, and nothing can help the team that doesn't. No one outside our room has anything to do with where we are right now, and no one outside our room will have anything to do with where we go next. Scott Musket, he was in Brosier Shreveport for a long time as a head coach and a GM there as well. So these are the 4 pillars, or the foundation really of our way, and what we believe makes our way better. And the 4 areas that we challenge our guys to get better at on a daily basis, and things that we try to get better at as coaches as well. So we start off with life. We try to help individuals with their in-life decisions. We strive to become solid in all aspects of life. This is the most important part of our culture. We want players to leave in a better place than they came in. So we want our players to know we care about them as people first. I mean, that's no secret really, that when they know that you care about them as people, then they can really put in the work for you as players. So, I mean, there's been no shortage in the past few years of instances of mental health issues in professional sports, substance abuse issues in sports, mistreatment of players is a new one kind of last year that started to come out. So we really want to take all those things and help players with anything that's going on in their life, and let them know that that's going to come first in our organization. Teach them about accountability. And we talk about the evolving part of our culture piece here. And last year we brought in a certified life coach in Chuck Thus, and that was the first time that he came in. And he came in 2 times during the year, and he came in and presented what he does and his story, and then came in another time. He's available 24/7 via phone for our players. And he's a resource that for us as coaches, we feel like can help players in an area that maybe we're not equipped to help them with. And our door's always open. But even if we were equipped, a lot of times players don't want to come to you if they're having issues at home or in their head or what have you. So we brought Chuck in. Our players seemed to like that. He had contact with a lot of players. That's all confidential. And we happen to be in an organization where our ownership believes in the same things that we do, happens to have the money to spend on something like this. And I know a lot of places wouldn't do that, so we find ourselves very fortunate. And we thank our ownership group for allowing us to bring Chuck in and for everything that he brings to our organization, and really benefiting the life portion of our culture piece. Community is the second part. So we'll give back to our community. We tell our players that, and we're just going to follow the example set forth by our owners, Bill Johnston and Rhonda Stryker. So unbelievable people in our community, worth a ton of money, over $5 billion with a B, and they love Kalamazoo. A lot of things that are in Kalamazoo are here because of them. And I'll give a small example. If my kids go K through 12 in Kalamazoo, they have free college in the state of Michigan, public or private, and they have 10 years once they graduate to use that. So a small example of things that they contribute to in our community. And another one of those small things is our hockey club. Obviously a little smaller than the college benefit, but just something that they believe brings our community together in a family atmosphere. So for us, that's huge too. They believe in it. We believe in it. Between myself and Nick, we've been in this community for over 25 years. We both have houses here, live here year round, raised families here. He's a little closer to the end of that part than I am. But we're invested in this community. We have a ton of friends and people we love in this community. So we talk to our players about being role models and representing themselves well, their teammates well, the organization, and ultimately our ownership well. We let them know they're going to be involved in community and player appearances, which I'm sure is no different than a lot of your organizations. But one thing we do, and we had to change it at one point, it ended up kind of being rookie sign up for different appearances. And we just said, you know what, we're not going to do that. We're going to hand them out. And yeah, rookies might do a couple more than other guys, or if the school visit's 45 minutes away, they may pick those up as opposed to a local one for a veteran guy. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to do it. We're going to do things as a team as well with our kids club, hospital visits. We volunteered downtown and picked up trash downtown and volunteered at Loaves and Fishes. And I remember being in the Rice Krispie room there and taking a bag of Rice Krispies taller than me and putting them in little bags for 3 hours. And that felt longer than the 60 days of quarantine. So, but it's something we're all in together, and we give back to our community, and ultimately the community fills the seats. So that's really important to us as well. Next is the weight room. And so a winner is defined as a person that wins something. A champion is defined as a person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals. The difference between a winner and a champion is both attitude and consistency. So again, the weight room, we have a strength coach that we're fortunate to have. Mark Olson does a fantastic job. NHL caliber. We're just lucky that he's a local guy that loves hockey, wants to be a part of it. Gets paid, but not near enough for what he does. And everything he does is based off our schedule. It's based off our travel. So if we have time to strengthen condition, we're going to do that. If we need to break and we need active recovery, we'll do that, or prehab. And everything he does is geared toward giving us optimal energy. And we believe it's an area that gives us an advantage with our schedule, our travel, the dog days in February and late January. And one thing that he uses and that we want our players to use is we run HRV, heart rate variability system, and a first beat system where we've been tracking information for the past 3 years and have a graph of that. So we're adjusting what he does, or he adjusts what he does from year to year, trying to find the optimal amount of energy so we're peaking as a team towards the end of the year. So this is something that we want everybody to buy into ultimately, and not just go to the trainer's room and have a coffee when there's a workout in the morning or what have you. So also we believe it's something that can help us prevent injury, and like I said, just gives us an advantage over other teams. And the final thing is the ice. So practice will create game-like situations, and we will compete. We play how we practice, no reps off. We pay attention to details. We will relentlessly strive for perfection, knowing all we will not attain it. We will achieve excellence along the way. No one is bigger than the team. So we want players that want to get better every day. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's no secret, right, that you play how you practice. So we want our practices to be a competition, and we want to push each other. Ultimately, there's not enough roster spots in a game as we have players on our roster. So we want our players to compete to be in the lineup on a daily basis. And then we're going to do drills with a purpose. We're not just going to do drills for the sake of drills. We're going to do drills that tie into our game plan and our systems and stuff like that. And then the hard work, we want 100% effort, 100% of the time. We don't want players that are going to go through the motions, the point of game guys, the veteran guys. We want those guys to be players that bring it every day. And ultimately we tell them, we have you guys for 45 minutes and we want your best for 45 minutes. And obviously that changes from depending what your schedule is, but ultimately around 45 minutes, that's all we want. And then you have the rest of your day to go play Fortnite or do whatever you want. And then little details matter, whether it's in practice or a game, and the practice carries over. If we're doing a drill where our puck's moving the puck up the wall to a forward, and we tell our forward we want him to shoulder check before he gets that puck, and there's no pressure on him, we still want him to shoulder check. That's a small detail, but in a game, if you don't shoulder check, then you're going to get rocked, or you're going to turn the puck over, or you're not going to know what your next option is. Or, if we tell you to touch a line in a drill that we're doing, a skating drill, we want you to touch the line. And we've had players cut before where it's coming down to 2 players, and there's a skating drill at the end of practice, and one player touched the line and one didn't. So ultimately that made the decision. So, and then at the end of the day, effort can never be the reason that we lose a hockey game. So that's what we try to push on the ice. And then this is what we end every video session with. And we got the idea from Doug Peterson in his book, Fearless, the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. And they used their theme after every video session they did or meeting, they'd put it up so that it wasn't just a one-time thing you talk about. It's something you could touch on every day and imprint in your player's mind. So we'll change the picture from day to day as well, but throw it up at the end of everything. So I think that's one thing we feel like we do well, I think, in Kalamazoo is the culture, and we feel like we have a core group of players and a leadership group that represents it well and believes in it, and tries to pass it on to the younger players and new players coming in, because at our level there is a lot of turnover. So one thing that we did learn that I'll touch on really quick is that we felt last year that we lacked was an identity as a group. Even though we had the culture in place, we lacked an identity, and we went through some adversity with injuries, and we feel that if we had a better possibly team identity in place, and a couple of the guys before me have touched on this, that maybe that would have helped us. So this is kind of the focus we're turning to next year as well. So in our recruiting, not just looking for good people and good players, but like hungry players as well, and players that want to be hockey players and don't just like the idea of being hockey players or want the picture for their Instagram or stuff like that. So as a staff, we came up with 4 attributes that we believe make a K-wing, and 4 attributes that we want our team to be known for. And that's what we're going to try to base our identity off of, and we're going to try to do that through our video as well, by maybe showing more habits first systems, where I think in the past it's been maybe 75% systems and 25% habits, and I think we're going to try to flip-flop that this year. And obviously that's not going to always be the case, but that's what we're going to try to do a majority of the time, and really try to build our habits and our identity as a team, and focus on some of those things that a couple of guys here before me have talked about. So that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you letting me share here and asking me, Johnny, and I hope you guys got something out of that. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Marty. Really appreciated that, and I'm sure guys on the call have some questions for you, and maybe Nick as well. Again, just that reminder of the importance of details, and that we need that support. Excellent presentation, professional top to bottom. Thanks again, Marty. Coach Barret Kropf is going to be the last coach to share, and then we can open it up to Q&A. Barret, excited to listen to you. Barret's been a life learner. Some people on the call maybe have never met Barret, but Barret's a guy I have a ton of respect for, and really looking forward to listening to Barret.
Sorry, I was on mute.
We can hear you.
All right, gentlemen. Wow, that was it's a tough group of acts to follow, and I just really want to thank Army for setting it up and making sure that that we all get a chance to get dialed in. And Clayton, Peter, and Joel, that was fantastic presentations. I've said a few times, even more so this last year, and I think that some coaches have sort of been exposed over this last year, but I'd say there's like maybe about 80% of coaches that are still in the game that you just scratch your head and you're like, how in the world are they in the game, and how are they coaching at that level? Just because they're just, I don't know, they're maybe not the greatest human beings or whatever. And then there's another 20% then that are just like amazing dudes like each of you guys. And so I echo it, Peter and Clayton, Joel, I want to steal your stuff, and I'm going to keep being a thief with you guys as well. So if you can send me your slides and stuff afterwards, that's great stuff. And as I was looking through the presentations that you guys are going to be doing and talking about culture as well, I was like, well, we can't just keep beating the horse over and over and over. You guys have done a brilliant job presenting on all that. So I'm going to just touch a bit on some of the culture stuff, and maybe more so tonight. I've sort of tweaked it a little bit today, my presentation, just to maybe give some stories and some context to all the culture pieces that these 3 men just talked about. Dovetail sort of into some of the stories I'll share, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to get back to my screen share here. Yeah, so when I first started off coaching like 25 years ago, it was I was just glad to be coaching, and got the opportunity to get involved at Barret Kropf as an assistant coach, and then had a chance to do a bit of overseas stuff, and then back to Barret Kropf. And each of those moments, I'd say my first 5 years of sort of being as a coach, I sort of felt like it was, you know, like a bit of a graveyard situation in the sense that, like, I was just happy to be there. You know, I was just trying to convince players, like, hey, if you got nowhere else to go, then, like, come be part of what we're trying to do, and we'll have some fun and stuff like that. And guys are, you know, you end up getting guys that they just sort of, they hope that we don't get blown out too bad. My first year at Barret Kropf, we didn't win a game all season. And it was just, you know, John Brewster, you would have lived through some of those moments, and it was sort of like, it wasn't like we weren't trying hard. It was just sort of like the culture wasn't elevated and pushed to that next level. It was just sort of like everyone wanted to just work as hard as we had to, and it sort of, you attract some selfish dudes in the midst of that, and you have high turnover. And so it was just one of those things where, you know, as a really young coach, I had to make a decision, like, am I going to be committed to this? And try to make a difference, or am I just be glad to be here? And I just made the decision at that young age that I wanted to, you know, make a difference and try to, you know, go to the next level, and whatever that was going to take. And so, you know, the term Kaizen is thrown around lots. It's a bit of a buzzword, you know, along with a bit maybe growth mindset would sort of be maybe the newer buzzword. But it's just continually improving, having that mindset that, like, nothing's going to stop you. It's, you know, it's like Joel talked about now, like, it's about the process, and you want to make sure that you're moving through that. So over the years, I've really tried to find ways to have clear expectations. And then once I've got them established, not to sort of rest on those laurels. We always want to keep increasing those expectations. I would say for me, you know, a bit of my coaching philosophy is just to be a servant leader. And I want to be someone that, you know, the players know how much I care, and like that I'm there for them. You know, but on and off the ice, you know, we've had situations. You know, my background is in sports chaplaincy, and so I've seen some of the ugliness of the sport and what it can do to young men and women. But I've also been on the coaching side of it, and, you know, see how as a gatekeeper, the coach really has an opportunity to really set these men and women up for success long-term on and off the ice. And so I feel the most successful way to do that is to have a servant leadership mindset. And really that takes doing more than it's required. You know, you guys have, you know, the three men tonight shared a lot about that, how you're involved in the community and how you build team and stuff like that. And in the midst of all that, it's just always having that attitude of gratitude, being thankful. Like, it's, we get the opportunity to coach. Like, that when I look at my bank account, not that it's that fat, but it's like I get a paycheck, I get numbers in my bank account because I get to coach the game that I love. But more importantly, it's really about influencing those people to be leaders on and off the ice. So I'm just so thankful for what's given to me as an opportunity with my family. You know, you guys have already shared about the accountability starts with you, empowering your leadership group. That's already been covered very well by everybody tonight. You know, surrounding yourself with great people. There's lots of shortcuts, and sometimes you see improvement. But in my quote there, you say, as you can see, this is about changing the program long-term, not short-term. You have to stick with it. It's your legacy as a coach. At the end of the day, it's how do you want to be defined as a coach? Do you want to be a guy that was continually improving and drag people with you? Or do you want to just be like, oh, he just happened to be there and we had lots of fun with him, but, you know, we didn't really learn anything. And so for me, I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah, I want to have fun, but I want to make sure that we're developing leaders on and off the ice. So for me, you know, I've made the commitment that I'm not going to be a guy that changes. I'm going to be myself, no matter what environment. And you know, since the late '90s, mid '90s, when I got into the coaching gig, you know, I've had opportunities to, you know, start out coaching at the midget level, and got involved in Saskatchewan, their SAS First program, was head coach at Team Sask. I you know, got to go to nationals, led me into opportunity to coach with the Czech national team at some world championships, with the Kazakhstan national team. You know, coach at Barret Kropf. I see Dell on here. Dell, welcome. He gave me an opportunity to coach at Notre Dame for a while. And now my time at Trinity Western. And so in each of those situations, I haven't been like, you know, I don't come in like with this raging maniac with my Bible to smash people upside the head, but part of my DNA. When I was a young player, like I wrestled, how do I take my faith and bring it into the game? And I couldn't resolve that. And so I left the game as a player and wrestled with that for a few years until I came to the realization that I have to find ways to integrate my faith and not leave, my faith in the locker room, so to speak. And so no matter whether I'm coaching in a faith environment or whether I am coaching a national team or a midget team or here at college, like I am never going to change who I am. And, you might adapt, of course, to the environment and different things like that, but the core of me is not going to change. And so you see at the top of the screen here, Matthew 5:14. It's a verse in the New Testament. It says, "In the same way, let your light shine that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." And so that's where we get the win all day, every day. And it's something that I've really, sort of owned over the last maybe 10 years, 15 years is just making sure that every moment of my life I'm reflecting, being a leader and trying to help others transform in the same way. And so for me, those are just some of the key points. Every day matters. And as you win and as you find success, the target gets bigger on your back and people want to pull you down and call you names, and players might not be happy. But in the midst of it, that's not your pressure, because I don't coach to please the press. I don't coach to please parents. I don't coach to even actually please my players. I coach in a way that I want to honor God with my gifts and abilities. And so it allows me to truly just have freedom in the midst of it all. And so I just want to now kind of unfold a bit of this sort of into some stories for you. Like I said at the start, when I had the chance to coach at Barret Kropf and then at Notre Dame, I was blown away just to be able to get the chance. Like, honestly, Del can speak to this. Anyone else that's been at Notre Dame, you walk those hallways and you're just blown away at all the legends that have been there. And we had a young 16-year-old kid by the name of Jaden Schwartz on our team, and you're just like, oh man, this guy's going places. And it was just sort of I probably didn't use the most of my opportunity at that point, because it was just sort of I was glad to be there. And it was, through that time and growing through that process where I gained my confidence. I then got that opportunity to go to the Czech Republic and coach with their women's national junior team. And we ended up winning a bronze medal at the World Championships using all this stuff that you guys talk about. And that's not normal. And Del can tell you this too. This is not normal for Europe. I honestly believe the reason that coaches get chances to go over to Europe and coach is because they are great at developing skill, but they absolutely suck at culture. And so when I was over helping out with the Czech and the Kazakhs and whatnot, I gained a ton of confidence because I knew this is stuff that they wanted and they needed. And so that's where my confidence began to grow, and really, I grew in my identity that who I wanted to be as a coach. In the midst of that, I got a chance to put some of my chaplaincy to work, and I got a chance to be the chaplain for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and won a couple of Grey Cups with them and lost a few as well. But in the midst of that, my 7 years with them, I saw 5 different head coaches. And so every head coach that comes in football, they bring about 20 assistant coaches with them. And so over the course of those 7 years, I got intimate firsthand knowledge of what kind of coach I wanted to be and what kind of coach I did not want to be. And so coming out of that, fresh off winning the Grey Cup in 13 on home field there, got the chance to come out and coach at Trinity Western. And so I just want to kind of now unpack sort of how some of this culture that you guys have shared about and that we do it at Trinity has unfolded the last 7 years. And so when I took over the program here, it was bad news bears all the way around. I had midget players, I had beer league guys, I had 2 players come to me from the basketball team. They were transfers from basketball. They came up to me a week into school and said, "Hey coach, I hear you're looking for players." Because I'd gotten the job late in the year, recruiting was over, and it was just sort of trying to limp through that year. And I ended up recruiting a super hot goaltender from Switzerland, and he stole the show for us. And this Bad News Bears, who got to the league final that year, and we lost, but it was a really cool thing to be able to see that. And Silas is now playing over in Switzerland and back in the top league there as an up and coming goaltender. So we got that hunger. We're like, man, we're that close. We just need a few more players. If we had a bit of talent, we could really make something happen here. And so that summer, or that year for recruiting, I sort of deviated from some culture, and I just said, we're going to get the best possible players we can, and really at any cost. And so we got some studs. We broke a ton of point records and league records and all that other stuff, and we lost in the first round playoff because our culture was absolutely garbage. It's actually embarrassing when I think back that how we allowed culture just to get room so quickly. So in the midst of it, it's not like we could trade guys or anything else. We just sort of had to let it ride out, let the scholarship ride out, and then tore the thing down at the end of the season. Got rid of the cancer and began to recruit the guys that we felt were going to be culture guys that are going to carry the things that we want, chasing excellence and all that other stuff. And gave us a great foundation. We had, we were above 500 that year, but it was just about like turning the ship back around and putting out fires and getting involved in the community and doing all those little things. And then the next year, 16, 17, we added a few more pieces, some guys that maybe had a bit more talent, and then, but they weren't a detriment to our culture. And again, we top of the charts, who, won the regular season, got into the playoffs, into the finals. For game one, we win 5-0, and we changed things up in the sense that it was such a hard lesson to learn. But we changed things up, and we went stupid. We planned the party for the next night. We brought in extra film crews. We had the whole thing behind the scenes, kind of like one of those ESPN, like 30 for 30, and we're going to capture our first hockey championship at the school. And yeah, we were up game 2, like 3 minutes to go. Puck comes in front of the net. Our D-man goes to clear. The stick breaks. They tap it in for empty net, and then it goes to overtime. They win to force game 3. Game 3, it's a packed building. We tied up shorthanded with like 20 seconds left. We think we're going to overtime. And Patrick Holland, who had just come, 2 years earlier, was with Montreal Canadiens. He came down the wing and zipped one over the shoulder, and with 7.2 seconds left, we lost the championship. And honestly, it was just one of those things of like, Barret, you're such an idiot. Like, why did you change? Things are going well, and then you just felt like you needed to change everything up. I mean, we didn't change our systems up. It was just like we brought new people in. We brought new film crews in. We brought families in. We just got stupid with it. And in 2009, when I was with the Riders, if anyone remembers the CFL situation where we won the Grey Cup, we're on the field, we're celebrating, we're going Cocoa Banana Puffs, crazy that we just won the Grey Cup. And then on the 10-yard line, we all claps because we see the flag on the field, and there's too many men on the field, and Montreal kicks it 10 yards closer, and they win the Grey Cup. That would happen 10 minutes before that moment was we were on the sidelines, walking up and down the sidelines, talking about the party that we're going to have afterwards, measuring our ring sizes, and we took our foot off the gas pedal. And I didn't learn from that. I should have learned from that. But in 16, 17, we're like, oh man, we got this in the bag. We're the best team, blah, blah, blah. And I to this day, it's a life lesson that I won't soon repeat. And so, we roll into 17, 18. We keep adding players. Record year. We won, the championship. It was super exciting to win our first one, finally get that monkey off our back. Had a chance then to apply for Canada West to be able to move up into the U Sports division. It was a 2-year journey of just grunt work, finding budget, not because it couldn't just be men's hockey. We had to have women's hockey. And, to go from a $600,000 budget to a $2 million budget was a tough ask. But the things that we did off ice, the things that we did in the community and got involved in schools and with academies and everything else, the school saw that lives are being changed and transformed, and they're becoming leaders. And so they stood behind us and endorsed us the whole way. The township got involved with support. We went into 18, 19 with these huge targets on our backs. We knew we had to increase, what our expectations were of the guys, more weight room, more film, more just being dialed in and being great leaders on and off the ice. And we won our second championship, final game 9-1. Going into this season, 2 months after the the second championship, we felt like, we were bidding for the Olympics. We're standing in front of the Canada West Committee and making our last, 30-minute or a 3-minute pitch, please let us in, and then stood out in the hallway while they voted, and then we got accepted. And I think to me that was like almost more exciting than winning the 2 previous years championships, because it was like all the things that my staff had worked towards and all the things that we had done over the years and how much school support we had was now validated, in the sense that like we're now moving up to Canada West. And so our guys had all kinds of motivation this year. Our culture is unbelievable. And then like all of you guys, the season gets ended, we're ready to go out on the ice for warm up when we get the phone call that like the season's over. So I'm really excited for what lies ahead, and just some of that, here's just a couple of snapshots of, some of our men, and seeing them be able to celebrate, an end result. The end result wasn't a goal. Our goal is always just to win all day, every day, and be excellent each day. And this is our second year. And so in closing, losing has taught me how to win, and it's a culture thing that we want to keep holding up for our guys. It taught me, how important it was, and the ability to get rid of, the dead weight. I want to continue to empower my leaders. I want to have a culture that's relentless improvement and pushing the edge of excellence every day. I always state, whether I'm talking to a sponsor, a business person, my board at the school, my boss, my athletic director, I just say, I want to be a rescue shop set up outside the gates of hockey hell. Because so many young men and women just get beat up by the sport because they're chasing the NHL, they're chasing the championship, they're chasing that pro contract. And if they can just understand that they'll have joy in the game, if they understand that they have to be leaders first, they have to lead themselves with excellence, and we help them find their identity and who they really are, they fall in love with the game again. They play with purpose, they play with freedom, and then you get results because of it. It's like the process. It's so beautiful. And so at the end of the day, it's up to you guys. It's up to me. It's up to us as coaches to help change that culture, because there are some bad coaches in the game. I think the men that are on this call and other women that are out there coaching as well, like, we have an opportunity to change the culture of the game. I think it started, but we've got a real opportunity in front of us. And I just want to encourage each of us tonight to really own that opportunity. So thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, Barret. Appreciate you sharing and sharing some stories too. Guys, I want to be respectful of your time. I'm slowly getting better at agendas, and I think the 4 points we have to our agendas are give more than you take. Our friend Darcy Haugen, who's hopefully tuned in and is listening from up top there, enjoyed each of the coaches sharing today, but we want everyone to feel that there's a sensible process. Again, my apologies for not being tech savvy. I will be better in 2 weeks. And in that, I will have a plan where we can share, different slides and that kind of stuff. And then the network side, to where, a midget coach calling a junior coach, or a junior coach calling CIS or college coach, and then vice versa to a pro coach. I think it's a world of networking where we have a chance to keep listening to each other, challenging each other, respecting each other's space, and creating value in a minimal amount of time. So I know that the agenda said 75 minutes, and we are a bit past that. But I hope through the call today, we felt like relationships were built, we learned something, and we felt challenged. Challenged to be better, just a bit better maybe. And in that, excited to listen and hear feedback from you, to where I just, in a simple way, want to help be a facilitator. But, maybe Darren's got a topic he wants to talk about, and how he's been working with the whole minor hockey and Salmon Arm, and might, have something to share with us for 7 to 8 minutes, or there's other perspectives I want to learn from, or learn together from. Curtis Friesen's on this call, and he's had a chance to coach some elite female soccer players. And I think we can learn from other sports. So in the future, I'd love to have Curtis Friesen share about some of the journey and how he's thought. He was a goalie, played junior, and now has developed into an elite coach in the Abbotsford area. So Long story short, I want to say thank you. We won't open it for questions because I want to respect people's time and what we have as an agenda. But I will email everyone a copy of this, and please share it with your assistant coaches or with your network, where I really believe there was some really good information shared. Thank you, Coach Jardine, Coach Hay, Marty, Coach Joel Martin. I really appreciate it. And then Barret Kropf for what you shared today. And if we can leave it at that, guys, as Jardine says, make sure you're sharing your good wine, and we'll look forward to talking in 2 weeks. See you guys.
Yeah, Brewster, can you maybe just include everyone's maybe phone numbers in an email so that we can have some interaction over the next couple of weeks and talk and call each other? Maybe we got some questions that we can fire at each other, and just to help us make that connection. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I'll do my best to put some information together, guys. And please email me if you have a suggestion for some topics in 2 weeks. And may the wind be at your back moving forward, guys.
Thanks for sharing tonight, and thanks for organizing, Johnny.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Army.
Broski, how goes it?